Today, we've got this amazing story from ancient China about three teachers who never said a single word. But their message, it was so powerful it could change an entire village. And their secret, well, it was something you really wouldn't expect. Let's get into it. So, let me just start with this wild idea. Forget all the serious chanting and quiet meditation for a second. What if the deepest, most spiritual thing you could do wasn't serious at all? What if it was just a good, deep, joyful belly laugh? Our story kicks off with these three incredible figures. They were just wanderers, and get this, nobody even knew their names, mostly because they never told anyone. They just became known as the Three Laughing Monks, which, as you'll see, pretty much says it all. Their whole method was just breathtakingly simple. No sermons, no books, no complex rituals. They would just roll into a new town, stand right in the middle of everything, and just start laughing. And we're not talking about a little chuckle. This was a pure, infectious laugh that would just sweep through the entire village until everyone was caught up in it. And really, that was the whole point. That was their entire teaching. They never said a single word to the crowds because, well, they didn't have to. The laughter said everything. A feeling of joy, of letting go, of just being delighted to be alive. It was a lesson you felt instead of heard. So you're probably wondering, what's with all the laughing? Well, behind it was this really cool philosophy that basically saw all of existence as a huge cosmic joke. Now, I don't mean that in a cynical way at all, but in a totally joyful one. The idea was that life, with all its crazy ups and downs, isn't some heavy burden we have to carry. It's this magnificent, absurd, and wonderful chance for a really good laugh. And people absolutely loved them for it. For years and years, they just wandered across the country, leaving this trail of happiness everywhere they went. But you have to wonder, how does a philosophy like that hold up when things get really serious? And this is where the story takes a huge turn. After all those years of pure joy, tragedy strikes. One of the three friends passes away. Now, for a philosophy that's built 100% on laughter, this is kind of the final exam, right? How do you laugh in the face of death? So the villagers all gathered around, and, they were expecting the act to finally be over. They were waiting for the tears, the sad rituals, the mourning. But what they saw was the exact opposite. The two monks who were left weren't just laughing. They were laughing harder and louder and with more joy than anyone had ever seen before. So, of course, this was the question on everybody's mind. It was just baffling. Was this some kind of disrespect? Was all that joy just a big act this whole time? The villagers were totally confused, and they finally went up to the two monks to demand an explanation for what looked like a pretty heartless celebration. And for the very first time, the monks spoke. And their explanation was just as wild as their whole lives had been. Apparently, their friend hadn't lost a fight with death. He'd won a bet. This wasn't a sad moment of loss for them. It was a moment of victory for their friend. It proved that even death itself was just another part of the game, another piece of the cosmic joke. But wait, the story doesn't end there. As it turns out, the monk who died had left behind some very specific final instructions, a last testament to a life lived through laughter. In his last words, he explained his whole thinking. He said that his constant laughter had basically been like a shield, and it kept him pure from all the negativity and, as he put it, the filth of the world. So he didn't need any of the traditional purification rituals people usually do after death. And because he felt like he was already pure, he made a pretty strange request. He wanted to be placed on the funeral pyre just as he was, in the same old clothes he had died in. The villagers, respecting his final wish, they prepared his body just like he asked. Okay, so picture the scene. The two monks are laughing their heads off, the villagers are watching in just stunned silence, and the funeral pyre is lit. But the monk who had won the bet, well, he had one last joke to play on everybody. The moment the flames reached his clothes, the sky just erupted in a spectacular explosion of color. The man had secretly stuffed his robes full of fireworks. The whole solemn cremation instantly turned into this dazzling, vibrant celebration of light and sound. And in that one moment, everybody got it. The entire village, right along with the two remaining monks, just erupted in this huge shared laugh. Even in death, the monk's very last act was to spread joy. He turned the ultimate moment of sorrow into his greatest punchline, his final and most powerful lesson.
So why do we still tell this story today? It's just this beautiful, extreme example of a really powerful idea. That maybe the whole point of us being here is to find and create joy, even and especially when things are at their toughest.
And that kind of leaves us with this final thought. This story isn't really just about some monks from a long time ago. It's a challenge for us, right? Can we reframe our own struggles? Can we find the cosmic joke in our own lives? Maybe joy isn't something you find after all your problems are solved. Maybe it's the very thing you use to solve them.